Welcome back to the channel. Now that the board and batten is painted and we installed our treads on the stairs, we're ready to install the stair rail. Stay tuned, I'll show you how to install these Timbertech vertical rails from start to finish. All right, now we're finally ready to install the stair rail. Now we've run into a bit of an issue. So we have a total of 12 treads, but only 11 here. So that leaves us an uneven number. So basically this post down here, you can see there's 3 treads, then another post, 3 treads, another post, and now we only have 2. So unfortunately, we have to decide whether we made the smaller section in the center down there, but I think visually it looks a little better having the 2 bigger sections here where it's closer to the eye, and then the smaller section up top. Now another thing that I like is this post and this post line up visually. So we're going to decide to go with this one, and I'm not going to bore you how to install posts. If you want to know how to install posts, look at my previous video when we installed these railings, and I'll show you how to do that. And as soon as I get the posts installed, then I'll show you how to install the stair rail. To start off, stairs are very complicated because they're all different. So for example, we did wider treads here, so our angles are going to be different than your angles, and depending upon how wide they are, how high they are, they all vary. So this is going to be more of a step-by-step that will cover all the bases, not specifically just the way for these stairs. So the first thing you want to do is get a 2x4. Some guys use a level, but per the directions it says use a 2x4. You will basically want 1.5 inch clearance so that you can slide this bottom cap in after it's installed. So the first thing that I did was I got a 2x4, I cut it to the length so that it doesn't slide or move around, it fits in here perfectly. Then I took this bottom cap, and what I did was I just slid this 2x4 over a little bit and laid it on top, marked here, and cut this. Once your bottom cap is cut, all I did was I took the cable rail and I laid this on top of it. And then what I did was I measured from the bottom to the first cable and from the end of this to that first cable, and make sure that they were equal distance. And then I marked it and cut it. Now, a couple things with the stair rail that differ from the level rail is, number one, obviously you have to cut it on an angle. So when they're pulled all the way through, the angle just continues. So I think it's personally easier to keep them together and cut them all at once on this angle and this angle. In the directions, they say open it up, clamp it, mark each corner. It's just, I personally think it's more work and more complicated. The other thing that differs from the stair rail opposed to the level rail is on the bottom, you can see the crimps are significantly bigger and they're angled. So this is the bottom of the rail and this will be the top of the rail. You obviously want this angle to go the way that the angle of the railing is going. And then when you clamp the plastic piece on top, you want that to slide in and hold this part. All right, so at this point you should have your bottom cap cut and your rails cut. So what you want to do is, again, check, make sure that this is the bottom and put the bottom in. With the bottom in place, you want to mark the top of the bottom rail right there and down there. For the level rail, it's a rectangle here. As you can see, for the stairs, there's this angle. So the upper portion you want angled down, and on the lower portion you obviously want angled up. So both of the brackets on the lower posts are going to be angled up. Both of the brackets on the upper posts are going to be angled down. So what's nice about the Deckmaster J-Jig is it's very tight this way, but there is some wiggle room this way. So now I can push the bracket up and be able to see my line underneath of it. Another little tip is when I'm screwing in the bracket, if you really crank it down, the bracket can move. So what I do is I just kind of snug it up, and then I screw the left one in all the way and then go back and tighten up the other one. They recommend removing this bottom post to screw in this bracket once you have that line marked. Something like this, DeWalt, Milwaukee, pretty much every tool brand makes it. You don't need to remove that post. You can just put this in here and screw your bracket on using one of these. Now, if you want to get fancy, Milwaukee makes one of these, and again, I think other brands do as well, but predominantly we're all Milwaukee. And what this does is it's a regular drill, but it has this 90-degree attachment. The reason I like this is, as you can see, this isn't spinning. When you put this 90-degree in, all it does is spin. So you basically have to have a hand on the screw, hand on this, hand on your drill. It makes things a little difficult. Again, this is several $100s, so if you're only installing this one time, I wouldn't recommend buying it, but I just wanted to show all the different options. So another thing that I did was I basically, if you look behind me, right here you can see what I call a crusher block. I basically made my own out of 2x material, and what that allows me to do is support the center as we install it. All right, so now that side's done, we're gonna focus on this side. And I'm basically gonna show you how to do it from start to finish by myself and how easy it really is. The first one is not easy, but eventually it takes a little time getting used to it, but once you get used to it, you can fly. Now what I like to do is, again, for homeowners, these rails are very expensive. So to limit any risk of messing up, cut it a little long. It's easier to cut some off, but if you cut it too short, you obviously can't add on to it. So, I don't know if you can see from there, but there's a little bit of room underneath there. So I'm gonna take off about, see how the 2x4 is moving? So I'm gonna take off about a 32nd, and that should be good. The way you do that is you push this against the saw, and then it flexes the blade. Now that the bottom cap is cut, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our rail, and like I said earlier in the video, the smaller ones are the top, the bigger ones are the bottom. So we're gonna pull all of them through towards the bottom. Now that we pulled it all to the bottom, as you can see, the bigger ones are here. I'm gonna lay it down and put the bottom cap on top of it. Make sure that they're equally spaced and cut it. This is the bottom cap. This is the bottom post. This would be the top post. So I just lay it on here, making sure it's equal distance. Yep. And then you wanna hold it in place and make sure your ends are lined up. And then all you do is just trace the end of it here. And then make sure that it doesn't move. Come over here. And trace it on here. Now, when you're doing this, you do not want this to cut through this cable for multiple reasons. Obviously, one, you don't want to cut through the cable, but you want to make sure where this is, because if this goes over that, that spacing is going to be too big, and obviously there'll be a hole where that cable is. So I have my mark there, and I have my mark there, and I'm going to go cut it. All right, so what we're doing now is we temporarily have our supports in, and all I'm going to do is mark, when he's pushing down, I'm going to mark the inside of the track here and mark the inside of the track here. That will give us perfect layout for the upper clips. All right, with that installed, now we're ready to put our screws in. And in the other video, I said that you want to stagger your screws so they don't hit on the other side. All right, now that you install the plastic clips and cut your top cap. In regards to handrails, there is an ADA compliance. So obviously if you pull permits, the inspector will require, for the most part, an ADA handrail, which is this round thing. It's called a graspable handrail. Now, technically, it's supposed to have a D handle at the end here. But typically for homeowners or residential, you can kind of get away with this. So obviously in my other video, we showed all of this. Over here, it's just a 90, but then if you come down here, you can see that it's just supporting. And then we got a coupler here in the center with a piece inside. So now this is all one piece and very sturdy. Now we are going to install lights on the top of all these post caps, but yeah, this is what the finished product looks like. So these rails are relatively new, and then I'm going to do a video on installing lights on them, because we do have some accent lights going here on the front and post cap lights on top. So I hope you like this video. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section and I'll get to them as soon as I can.